as you get older, experiences are happening to everybody. So people's minds are getting locked or unlocked, right? So I feel like it allows you to see different things and still learn. You always got to stay a kid, as the Bible says, right? You have to still be a child. You have to learn. You never stop learning, right? So I think that if you have the perspective that you can learn anything from anyone at all times, if you just really lock in and pay attention, then you can take bits and pieces from everything around you.
The 2021 NFL Draft. The New York Jets select Elijah Moore, wide receiver, Ole Miss. Touchdown, Elijah Moore.
I'm gonna work out. When they say do 10, I do 12. When they say do 9, I do 10. You see what I'm saying? Whatever it is.
Elijah Moore with his third touchdown catch of the game.
One guy on the field, you want to know where he is at all times. It's Elijah Moore.
You know, I'm just thankful, man. I can't thank God enough.
So in this episode, I get to have Elijah Moore on. And Elijah Moore is a football player that got drafted by the New York Jets, and now he plays for the Cleveland Browns. And we had this conversation in Miami. The reason why I flew out to Miami to have this conversation with him was we were celebrating some exciting events in his life, and I'll explain it in a second. But to rewind a couple years to fill in the story of how I met Elijah, a couple years back, I got to sit beside him for like 10 minutes, and this conversation was short and sweet. We got to talk for 10 minutes, but in that 10 minutes, it was one of those like kindred conversations where you just immediately connect with someone, and it was just felt on both sides that we're like, we got to have a bigger conversation. We got to figure out something to do here. And so for the next couple of years, we would try to align on things, but it never just really worked out. And then if you fast forward a couple of years later, a month ago, he texts me and he tells me that he was keen to come on my podcast because I originally was launching Time Capsule, and I told him about it, and he wanted to do an episode with me, but he was starting the NFL season. So we waited till his bye week, the week where he didn't have to play, to set up this episode. And he's like, yeah, let's do the podcast, but also me and my girl are gonna have a baby shower, and we're gonna reveal the gender to all our loved ones. And oh, by the way, I'm also gonna propose to my girlfriend. And I was just like, wow, I am so honored to be a part of such an insane weekend and insane chapter in their lives. So I caught basically the next flight out to Miami, and we celebrated just a beautiful night with a bunch of amazing people, good food, good music, and all the good news. And then after that, basically a few hours before my flight, we filmed the podcast, and that's why I was in Miami doing this episode with Elijah. And this conversation was a lot of things. Like, I honestly left really inspired. The best way and the most concise way to describe it is that there are three big F's in his life. There's football, there's family, and there's faith. And we unpack all of it. We unpack his origin story, how he came up from Florida and was kind of like this young football prodigy. He found love for the sport, but he also became a student of the sport really young. And most kids aren't obsessing about something like this at that age. And that was just so fun to unpack. And then we went on to a big part of his story where he decided to leave his world completely and go to a state and a school that he, to this day, doesn't know why he went to. But he went there and he smashed university football records. He learned how to, what he would say, grew up to be a man and everything that came along with that. And then we talk about his journey into the NFL and how faith ties into all of that, how love comes into his life, and honestly, just what he's able to pull from his life, like the themes and the takeaways, and how faith has been such a big pillar in all of that. And we also learn like the main characters in his life, the boys around him, and the impact of like his mom and his grandma and stuff. It's such a fun conversation. It went by really fast, but yeah, that's the best way to describe Elijah Moore is that there's just a quiet fire about him. He's very calm and composed, and you should never mistake that for like complacency or weakness, because he doesn't say much, but when he does, you just want to listen because he's so wise beyond his years. But anyways, I won't keep you any further. Please enjoy this episode with Elijah Moore. Let's start at the very beginning. I think the best way to understand your life from the beginning up until this point, there's a great question to ask. If your life up until today was condensed down to like 3 bookmarks or milestones, moments of change, what do you think those 3 chapters would be?
I have a lot. I don't think I can just narrow it
I
down
know
to
that's
three.
why simplifying difficult things.
Three most important. So first and foremost, I have to start off and say that when I started taking God more serious and really found Jesus, that's definitely number one, because that's my whole life is based off that. You see what I'm saying? Every decision is within Jesus in mind, within, a lot of my decision making, I don't think would probably be the best if it wasn't guided by what I shouldn't do to please God. So I think that's one. So finding Jesus is.
What age was that, or when was this?
So when I went to college, is when I wanted to take like the next step. I was like talking about God. I was going to church. I was praying and doing everything that maybe like a Christian would do. But like, I don't think I was being like a doer. And I think me going away to college, of me being scared, being by myself a little bit, just like, yo, okay, I'm about to go do this by myself. And it's on me now. Everything that I learned from my parents, everything I learned from every single person, every encounter is going to come out now, So I think that is what made me say that I need to go. I got rebaptized. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, you went all in on.
I tried to go all in.
Okay, so then the second and third.
It's not, you can't condense my life into three. So it's like, I don't even know if I could even answer that. Like, obviously finding God is like the most important.
Yes.
And maybe the only important. Yeah. I couldn't even answer the last two, because everyone that I've met has shaped me into who I am. Everyone who has, because I'm not just, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's like doctrination, right? Like, we learn based off what we experience and what we see and what happens to us and around us, So it's like.
Okay. So before you found, say, faith in college, let's back up to the beginning. So.
Well, I found faith young.
Okay.
So I've been, my peoples and my family always kind of talked about God, you see what I'm saying? And made sure I had a personal relationship and to pray and all that stuff. But I just think that, going through stuff like family stuff, like everybody go through, and then just daily life, like I started to realize that, like, okay, like I'm going through stuff, and obviously like people are telling me around me that are focused on God that the only way I'm gonna get through this is like this. So then obviously it opened up my interest to try to have my own personal relationship. And then going into college, you see what I'm saying, I wanted to take the next step, because now it was all on me. I don't have my mom, I don't have my family, I don't have, TA or people around me that can be like, yo, reminder, so now the reminder's on me.
Can you talk more about your upbringing? You're talking a lot about like change and family and the people in your life. Can you tell me a little bit about your upbringing? Because I actually don't know that much about the way you were raised and where you were raised and all that.
Okay, so like a broad spectrum would be South Florida. You see what I'm saying? I probably lived in all different parts as it feels like now, but I started off in Miramar, Florida. I was born in Pembroke Pines Hospital. Played football the age of 6. I didn't like it at first. I played really because my brother used to sit in front of the yard, and he used to put his pads on and try to run me over, and I ain't like it. But I just played because he, older brother played. Me and my brother kind of connected and got closer because of sports. And that was the way we kind of expressed ourselves.
What's the age gap?
He's 3 years older than me. But we pretty much played like, not every sport, but basketball, football, and track. That was like biggest. I feel like that all our friends played from here. But yeah, started off that, you see what I'm saying, around mom and dad together. Good family, great family. Family is, very, I would say, connected on both sides. Everything just felt so easy.
That's
you know
rare.
What I'm saying? Yeah, I know. It was definitely rare. I was like probably one of my only friends out of my friend group that like parents were still together at the time. Up until obviously I was 14. That was when my parents split. But I was like one of my only friend of my friend groups that like people's was married and looked happy and all that stuff.
That's probably one of the best gifts you could probably have in life. Yeah.
I think that is one of the best gifts.
Were they hard on you, your parents?
Yeah. In different ways, of course, but
how? What do you mean?
the love from a mom and a dad is just different. You know, love from a mom more affectionate. You know, more catering. You know, moms. And then love from a dad is probably shown in different ways, not always words, and it's just expressed different.
Okay. So when you were playing the three sports that you just listed, track, football, and basketball, when did football kind of start becoming the sport at the front that started taking more of your attention?
So football led with them all first. So like I only played the other ones to help better football.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So football always like been the one, you know. So it wasn't like um, I was playing the others kind of just to see, because I was good at it and my friends played. It wasn't something that like I played because I was deciding which one I wanted to go to. I always knew like after like my first year where football started going well for me that I wanted to play football first. Yeah. So the rest of them I just kind of used to implement to make me a better football player.
What's your earliest memory of football where you were like, I think I might be better than some of these other kids?
Yeah. I had a girl coach my like third year of really like trying football.
Okay.
And this is when she finally seen something in me. I was always faster than everybody else. I just never really like knew like the holes or, you know, knew like the fundamental part of football. Like it took me like a couple years to really get it. But my third year playing, I think I was like maybe 8 or 9 by then. I like the coaches would tell me to get the ball and run as fast as I can to the outside and don't get touched. So like, and
It's pretty
I did
simple.
that. Yeah, I did that and I just started scoring. So there'll be games where I scored like 4 or 5 touchdowns. And that was when I started to like realize that,
Wow.
yeah, like my mom and them used to be like, yo, you good at this. Like, and my brother used to kind of tell me, yo, you good at this.
Yeah.
You know, and then just the competing aspect. I used to go stay and watch every other game after, up until my brother's games, and like seeing what plays the playmakers made and then trying to compete with them. Like I would be all close with every pound's playmaker and kind of just be like, well, I scored 5 touchdowns today. How many touchdowns did you score?
Wow.
You know, type of thing. So
sounds like you're like you became a student of the game pretty young. Where does that like analytical side come from? Because not a lot of young kids are looking at a sport like studying it to obsessively. It sounds like it was a bit obsessive.
I think it's just having a brother always competing. You know, we were always competing in everything. You know, I was the type of kid like if he if we raced, you know, and like and he beat me, like I probably wouldn't talk to my brother for a couple of days.
Yeah.
You know, and he'll like be like, what's wrong with you? Like type of, you know, so I was like that. Or I would just cry, sore loser type of stuff. Like I've always been that type of brother. Like I couldn't even help it.
When did football start to take like a real shape in your life as you got older, between that early stage of learning and becoming a student of the sport and then getting to like the high school and the older years?
So as time went on, obviously when I got to high school, really when I left middle school, when we was winning all those championships, you know, we would go to like what we call it the Super Bowl, you know, at Little League and stuff. All my team was pretty talented. You know, all the people kind of around the park kind of poured into us. So we kind of like knew that like, you know, like we were good because it was such a big deal. Like football was such a big part of even my family's lives. Like Saturdays was dedicated the entire day to watching me play football and watching the other pounds and just kids play football and do spectacular things, right? So as far as from an athletic standpoint. So I feel like the transition into high school, you know, trying to see where I wanted to go to high school. And, you know, a couple of my teammates from Little League all went to one school and they wanted to see if I wanted to go. And then I didn't end up going to that one. I went to the school my brother went to, Western. And because my mom wanted us to be together, obviously, right? So I think I was like the only one who didn't go to the school that everybody else kind of went to, you know? Yeah. And then I think I played one JV game because I thought I was going to go straight to varsity. Like my ego was kind of high a little bit because how I did in Little League.
Yeah.
Right? Like my brother was kind of talking me up to the coaches saying like, my brother's good and he's coming here. And they were like, well, we want to see how you do. I thought I was going to go straight to varsity, but then they made me play a game on JV and I scored 5 touchdowns.
Wow. I
scored like in every way. I had a punt return, a kick return, a run, a pass, and I think I threw a touchdown. So I scored like every single way.
Wow.
And they all came. Like I watched all the coaches walk up, all the players sat in the stands, like everybody came to see me. And like I was nervous, but like the way the game went, it just flowed. Like I scored every single way. And then after that game, the week after that, I was on varsity.
Was someone guiding you during this time of how to receive all that validation? Because that's like a lot of affirmation for a young man to have. That's got to do something to the mind and how you measure yourself.
So like that's the thing. Like my family, like I feel like I've witnessed through them from a young age that like I not to hold myself too high because it's also I was in a park that was so talented, right? Like there was so many kids that like done a lot of stuff. And then I was just like a big YouTube kid. Like I always watch highlights. So like I always like would watch highlights of all different kids. I may not have known like exactly like their names and stuff, but when I seen the highlight, I know the video, right?
Yeah.
So like I'll just study other kids and I'll be like, yo, like this kid's 9 years old too. Like and he's doing stuff like this and I'm not doing that yet. So like I would kind of just like study and know that like just because I'm snapping here, that don't mean I'm the best ever. So I just kind of knew to keep going.
Wow. I feel like that must have been an important part of your journey because I think it would be easy for people to, you know, blow up your ego and be like, oh, you're great. And then it makes you complacent.
Well, people were doing that at times too.
Sure.
But
your core circle of people, maybe.
Yeah, my core circle of people, like, they was making sure that, like, you know, my ground fundamentals as far as, like, what my parents taught me, you know, and what they instilled in me and what I got to see.
Yeah.
And just how, like, my people's is. We're not those type of people.
Yeah. Well, what did your parents have to do for you to kind of carry on this obsession with football? I'm sure there was maybe sacrifices along the way.
Yeah, a lot as I got older. So my mom never missed practice, never missed a game. My grandma has never missed more, like even more than her. You know what I'm saying? Like my mom sometimes may have to like drop me off, stay a little bit, and then go do something.
Yeah.
But my grandma has never missed nothing. You know, my uncles became my coaches.
Whoa.
You see what I'm saying? So it was a lot of dedication put into it. And from a young age, I guess that they seen that, you know, I was blessed and I was different. And all it takes is one person to believe in you. You know, that confirmation as a kid to know that, okay, am I good? They said I'm good. These people matter to me, so I must be good. You see what I'm saying? So I think I just ran with that. The people that I loved thought that I was good, and I had a feeling that they wasn't lying because, like, I would go to every single game and do something good to help the team. So I think it's just, I ran with it. You know, I ran with it.
Yeah. So I want to move a little bit forward to the Ole Miss side, the college part of your chapter, because I'm not sure if you're familiar with the storytelling framework called the hero's journey. Do you know what I'm talking about? So the hero's journey framework is a story framework that you've seen in every part of movies and storybooks. It's Lion King, it's Hunger Games, it's Star Wars. It's the hero starts in his ordinary world, and it's the world that we know. This would be Florida for you. You know these people, you know everything about this place. And then at some point, there's a call to adventure. There's an opportunity that the hero can take. And in real life, that can look like starting a new job, going to college, maybe even getting in a relationship. It's a new thing, but there's a crossing of the threshold. So you go from the ordinary world to the unknown world. And what happens in that unknown world is where like the story begins, the movie begins, and that's where we all get hooked into a story. And I feel like
the stuff people don't see.
Yeah. And I think that when we look at your hero's journey, you going to Ole Miss is probably like a perfect storytelling of this framework because you left your world, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Like you probably left 1,000 miles and you went to a school in a state that you did. Yeah.
People probably was like, why did I go there?
Yeah. So talk a little bit about that because I think you stepping into a totally new world probably revealed a lot about yourself at that time. So what was going on in the decisions leading up to that?
So first and foremost, like when I think about what you said, and obviously that makes a lot of sense to me, I just have to give thanks to God because I don't even know sometimes how I even like, I know how I got through it was him, but you see what I'm saying, the way it works, not everyone has favor like that, you know? So I know that I'm blessed because the way it just flowed, right? Like many people's lives just don't flow like that, you know? So it's a true testament that, you know, I just woke up and literally like was just blessed, you know, because that's all God. But so I would just say I had to grow up, for one. I kind of noticed that I had to grow up, you know.
What does that mean?
I had to, like, I was so, like, pampered and catered to. You know, I have, like I said in the beginning, I'm such a family man, you see what I'm saying? My mom did everything for me, you know what I'm saying? My grandma always cooked every meal. Like, I didn't know how to do anything, you know? I was I literally like wanted to change everything, like made sure that I got right with Christ before I left because I already knew. Like, so that shows you the importance to me
Yeah.
of implementing
Mm.
and doing exactly what I need to do when I go, because now it's somewhat I'm nervous about it.
Mm.
You know, so I had to grow up, man. I had to become a man.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't
Figure out
want to
basic things.
I didn't want to disappoint my peoples, you know, everything that I learned, you know, all the
There's a lot of pressure on at this point as well, right?
it just it didn't feel like it though.
Oh no?
It didn't feel like it. My family ain't never really give me vibes that they were expecting anything from me. You know, they just kind of was like, you're gonna do good. I don't know why you worried.
Yeah.
type of mindset, you know,
Yeah.
and that's felt from a kid too. Kids feel that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, they feel when it's like when it's pressure, as far as like
if it doesn't feel like play, then you lose the
Exactly.
magic, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, so they ain't never make me feel like if I don't get this done in these amount of years, or if I don't do this, like, then we not gonna be like, you know what I'm saying? They didn't ever give me that ultimatum. They was like, yo, if it works out, good. If it don't, we'll figure it out. Good. Well, like, you know what I'm saying? Either way, you're good. You're blessed. You know, so I think that's why, you know, I did a lot of stuff I shouldn't have did when I was there too. I did a lot of stuff that I was supposed to do, you know, and maneuvering through it all by God's, you know, grace and mercy. You know what I'm saying? Is how I endured.
Yeah, so that's the personal side of Ole Miss. What's the football side looking like? Walk me through that first little bit, because you must be getting used to a lot of new things there.
Yeah. So got there, pride myself on being like a workaholic type of person, right? I get there and I'm trying to, you know, I'm not there to make no friends. That's my mindset. I'm not there to make no friends. I'm not there to be no buddy. I'm here to get right.
To work.
Right?
Like
to work. I'm
lone wolf mindset.
Exactly. Like, I'm here to get right. I don't care. We don't like nobody. I don't care. Nobody don't like me. You see what I'm saying? I'm here to show these coaches what I can do and to prove it even to myself that I could do this. You see what I'm saying? So, in the beginning, like my first practice and stuff, like as far as how it felt, if it was harder or not, I was so prepared because of how I prepared for the summer before I left. I felt so confident going into it, right? So I get done straight out of football from my senior year before I went to Ole Miss, straight into track season. Speed, working on my speed, right? So making sure that like as soon as I get there, I am separating and I'm not tired, right? So that's like my mindset. When I get there, if I'm not gonna be friendly with people, then I have to dominate. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like they're not gonna like me if I'm going to hurt, if I'm gonna embarrass them. Yeah. So I have to have the mindset that we're not gonna be cool with a lot of people. Yeah. So worked on my track. Soon as season was over, full track season, doing things I didn't want to do. 600s at practice, all different types of things. Running with people that are way faster than me, losing every track meet just for the later result. And I didn't even realize that until later. Like, I would have so many down moments at the track meets because everybody's running like 10-2 and 10-4, and I'm running like 10-9, you know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. So it wasn't like, they weren't fun for me. You know, it was kind of like, if anything, embarrassing. You know, because I'll get out with everybody in the beginning and I'll just lose at the end. Yeah. But it was the practices. It was the constant competition with me and my homeboy TK. It was the competition between the other football players that would come practice with us and want to race, and I'm beating them and they're seeing my progress because I'm at practice for so long. You know, I think all that helped me. And then just training with TA, you know, working on my craft. Yeah. And by the way, everybody, TA is Gold Feet Global. Yeah. Get right, you know, get certified.
Is that when you guys got... Oh, you guys known each other?
A long time, yeah. I've been training with TA since I was young.
You got there and you kind of had this stubborn mindset.
I don't think it was stubborn.
You don't think it was stubborn?
No, because I didn't come off. I don't think I came off as far as like FU vibes.
No, I don't think it was like that. But like your mindset is, I'm going to focus on...
I was just super intentional.
Yeah.
I wasn't stubborn at all because I feel like I hold myself to be a very kind person.
Well, looking back now, does it feel like you made the right decision? Like that was the right way to come in? Oh, okay.
Yeah, 100%.
That was the right way.
You got to come in like, you got to come in focused. You got to come in very intentional. You see what I'm saying? You got to come in like, you ain't trying to be here forever. You see what I'm saying? I wasn't trying to make Mississippi my lifestyle.
Yeah. So when did football start to take off or gain some traction when you started playing on the team? When did you start seeing results and starting to feel like you were finding yourself on the field?
So practice, man. Practice for me was probably the most competitive. And that was when I started to notice, like, when everything starts turning to a competition because of how I grew up, and that's a testament to, I feel like, having like siblings, right? Like you get to get tested.
Yeah.
You get to compare yours versus somebody else's, right? So the practice part of Ole Miss for me was like, I think 20 times better than what anybody even gets to witness in the game.
Wow.
Because I'm going against DK and AJ.
Yeah.
There are other receivers that get in before me that I get to see them do amazing things. So it's like you're on guard more when it's your turn. Like you can't mess up.
Yeah.
Right? And what happens when you can't mess up? You just lock in even more. You focus every more. That's why I think I thrive better in moments where I may be nervous or moments where it's like a lot of stuff on the line, because people may look at it as getting scared, like, and they're not ready for it. But I look at it as like my body, when I'm scared, is only going to focus even more.
Yeah.
So that means I'm only going to do better.
Yeah.
You know
Some
what I'm saying?
people just rise to the occasion better than
rise
others.
to the occasion. So for me, that was practice, man. Practice really was like refinement. You know, like I got to witness some real great things from people that do things that I can't do, and I can do things that they can't do. And we just like all get to like do it play after play.
I don't think most people have that relationship with practice, whether it's sports or any other craft. It sounds like you're taking practice a lot more seriously than other people. Than some people are like, I'll save it for the game.
Yeah.
But I think that's a little bit backwards and not the right framework. Why do you value practice so much at that point? Like, how do you understand the importance of it? Because I don't feel like a lot of people understand that the practice part is the more important part.
Yeah. Well, to be completely honest, it's like I just got there. So just having the mindset of like trying to make a name, you need to take practice serious, right? Like if you are trying to be limitless and everything that you want to be in your head, you have to take practice serious, because that's the only way to stand out, right? To even get the opportunity to do it in the game, right? Because at the end of the day, there's one football, right? So even if I do make it to the game, there's other receivers. So how do I make the quarterback want to throw me the ball?
Wow.
When there's other receivers, right? So you have to be intentional, and you have to be consistent.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You got that persistence and every other type of positive word, determination, all that has to come into play. But on the other side of that, I think like how I actually feel about practice, I think practice is super important. I think practice is where you get to try things. I think practice is where you get to really see what you can do.
Experiment a bit.
Experiment. And practice is where you really get to like work on your craft that may come up in the game later. Like, you see what I'm saying? Practice is where you get to implement everything. You see what I'm saying? Everything that you've learned, everything that you've practiced, everything that you need to work on, that you want to try, it can come out without no penalty. And then you get to find out what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. The way you describe practice and how you approach football is very much how I've heard artists at the highest level approach their craft, and the playfulness and the intentionality behind it and all of that. I think if we're following the framework that I was just telling you about, the hero's journey, you leave the normal world, you go to unknown world. There's a crossing of the threshold. You accept the call to adventure. And then as you go into your story, you meet like your dragons, which represent like the things that
Trials.
Your trials. Yeah, exactly. Trials. Yeah. It's the things that you need to overcome. But before you do that, there's usually like a mentor that comes into the story. There's like the Gandalf and the Yoda in these classic storytellings. Were there mentors in your life that you felt like helped you through some of these trials that you're going through during that time?
So to touch on that, okay. So for me, it's a lot, right? Because that's like that part of the story for me is like, and even it ties into like my spiritual journey too. That part of the story for me is like I draw like from that part of my life more than anything, right? Is because that's how you find out who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like for me, that's how I found out like that nothing can't really break me, and it didn't take, and to speak on like those people, like the Yodas and the mentors, it wasn't me that found it out. It was the people who poured into me that reminded me.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? So that's what all it is. Like, it's just like, what's going on with me now? You see what I'm saying? To give you like a preface, and then it's like, God already told us who we are. We just go out into a world every day and get manipulated because you have to walk by stuff that you can't see. God, you can't see, right? And that's the word faith. Faith is you walk by things that you can't see. You follow God, even though you can't see God, right? So that works with the same thing over with how the mentors got me right. Like, you see what I'm saying? I didn't always believe in myself, but I always knew I was good. It took them to be like, yo, you got this. Like, I don't know why you tripping. You see what I'm saying? Like, we see it in you. Like, we're not just saying that. You know, so it just takes those people through the hard times to believe in you and know that you got it. And then that's how you get up out of them. And that's how you let that hard time actually do good for you. You know, like, it's just like with Christ, you find joy in the suffering.
Who were some of those human mentors, the coaches or the people in the background that played a role in your life as mentors that helped you find your way?
Yeah, so first and foremost is family, right? Like, my family, you know, my grandmother, you know, she's like the first one that comes to mind. She really poured into me. You see what I'm saying? Like, she's the person after the game that's going to tell the truth. You know, everybody's going to say, you know, you scored a touchdown, you know, you did good.
Yeah.
You know, she's the one that's going to pull me inside and be like, you didn't do good enough. You know, it's okay. We're going to figure it out next week.
Yeah.
But you didn't do good enough. You know, I'm not going to sugarcoat nothing. But you're going to do great next week.
Yeah.
So,
she's grading you on you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When they're just supporting.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's the first thing that comes to mind. Like, to me, that was important. That was like my first real moment of seeing if I was going to be the type of kid that needed someone to like always boost them up, or if I'm going to be the type of kid that like thrives off like what she thinks I can't do.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So like, that's why I think that I'm the type of person that where it's like, you think I can't do this? I bet.
Yeah.
You know, so she was like my first example of that.
Wow.
But like, it's so much people, her, my uncle, my mom, my dad, like everybody, my brother, every single person like played a part. I've had moments that I put in the bank, you know, I put them in the bank. Like, okay, man, I'm gonna take that. You know, I'm gonna take that. Like, even on like the side of my dad didn't really know too much about football at first.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of island parents aren't really like too like, you know, if that's not what they, you know, it's not one of their interests at first, they're not really too educated on like stuff like that.
Interesting.
You know?
I never would
Like,
have.
my dad was more of a basketball guy.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he didn't really like know too much about it, but even the fact that sometimes that my curiosity and my will to want him to know how good I was, I think like made me better too. Cause like, you want your dad to know that you lit.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
You know, so like validation from pops from going to the game. I see all the other kids' dads, like, I want my dad to know I'm lit too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so sitting there showing them highlights, showing them my highlights, showing them my videos of me working out. You know, small stuff, you know, that I thought was like not small to me, but like just small stuff.
And what about the impactful figures that were maybe in the forms of players or coaches in your life?
So as far as like players and coaches, you know, he's standing behind you. TA is a huge one. So to this day, I had a dude named Sly Johnson, is a big one. He's the one that really like poured into me like when I was young. He set the foundation as far as like really believing in me first, right? From like someone who's not a family member, right? He like would call me after our sessions that we would have on the field, like, and just let me know like non-football stuff, right? You got to be a good person. Like, football is more than just this. Like, you see what I'm saying? It first starts with your character, right? Like, because football is only going to take you so far. You have to be able to take stuff. You have to be able to go through stuff hard. You have to be a good person. Like, he would let me know those things that, you know, sometimes, you know, when you're in a family, you know, we always don't listen to our dads and our moms.
Yeah, they're too close.
Yeah, they're like too close. You know, you start like thinking that their words don't matter no more.
Yeah,
But
you got to
then
hear
someone
from
else
anyone but them.
Says the same thing, and it
That's
makes
genius.
sense. Yeah, it makes sense now,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
I think he was like the first example of that for me. And then getting to implement some of like, you know, the nuances with football that I was learning, releases and just small stuff that really like changed my game from a running back to a receiver. Really like helped refine me on and off the field. And the way he was just kind of speaking to me, he was always positive. He believed in me. He would pick me up and show me that like I was important to him, and that me working on my craft was something that like he really believed in and wanted to invest time. So, and then just the conversations, to take time to talk to a kid that is not your family, that you don't owe nothing to. And I'm only giving you $20 every single Sunday is not like, you see what I'm saying? Like, there's hundreds of kids out there. Why are you calling me? You know, like, made me feel like special. You know, so I think that was like the big one to transition me into my relationship with TA. You know, was where everything I got to learn with him now got to be I guess, pulled out and started over now from a different perspective, right? So before it was more broad when I was with Sly, right? It was more of a do this, we're gonna learn this, and after I see that you did it once, I'm gonna have you do it in front of somebody and see if it works, right? And then with TA was like, and then when I did all that, and then we transitioned to TA was more of like understanding my body and how it felt and how it's supposed to look every single time to where it's me no matter what.
Yeah.
Right. So now it's like that person where I was trying things and would work against certain people sometimes when I try hard became me all the time because I started transitioning to TA and understanding.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think it worked hand in hand. So TA and Sly were like my two big football mentors as far as like, really like building me up and let me understand like how I can move like this and how I can move like this all the time. Right? What was
maybe
the other side of
coach?
the question?
Was there
Coach?
maybe a coach? Or like, it doesn't have to be a coach. It could be someone just guiding you on the game.
Yeah, the other side of that would be TA too. It wasn't just the football part. As I got older, you see what I'm saying, and he allowed me to see the other side of him when he felt he was ready to, to let me see that side. To where he probably felt like I could understand.
Yeah.
Because obviously when I was young, he wasn't having certain conversations because I was little.
Yeah.
He was like probably like I don't really want to show him that.
Yeah.
And then when I got older, it's kind of like a kid and their dad. Your dad is a blessing given too early isn't a blessing at all. So you got to be careful. So I guess it's the information. Information is blessings, right? So the information that was given to me later was given when he felt when it was right, and I was like my mentor off the field.
Yeah.
I was stubborn too, as far as this is where I can agree with you. Where I was stubborn, I was the kid that didn't listen to my parents. But if TA said it, I'd listen to him.
Right. Yeah. Let's talk about TA for a second here. So how would you describe TA to someone who doesn't know who he is? Who, like, he's a main character in your life. I know who he is, but describe him.
Okay, so there's like three people, right, that I always say that like I think that like I don't think I know that like I don't think everyone that I've ever met is like them, right? So it's TA, it's Steiny, and it's the person next to TA, right? His name is Scope. And they're each individually like unique. And I'm not saying it like to boost anything. I'm about to explain how. And this is going to make so much sense, right? So TA is a definition of like selfless. Like he does things. And there's not many people in this world that do things to not get anything back, right? Like people do things always because they want something back, right? So he does stuff to not get anything back. And he does it repeatedly and still continues to do it. You see what I'm saying? So that's like a big sign for me as far as like, that's all I need to know to witness, to know if someone really like cares about another human being or just care about people in general. Because it's not just me that he does it with. He does it with every single person that he meets. So that's like a big thing, right? That showed me that he's different and unique in his own way. And then just as far as like teaching me how to be, a more, let's just turn to a little sensitive side, like to be more vulnerable as a man. I didn't really see that a lot. Just allowing me to know that I can speak and like say something soft and not feel like square, feel like, what I'm saying? Like know that we got to let that out real quick, and then how we're going to go about it is we're going to express ourselves back on the field.
Yeah.
And then after that, we're going to go pour back into each other with the words, so I think that was like a huge part too. And then for the person next to him, Scope, I would say that Scope is unique because I think Scope teaches me how to like be my own person and not be ashamed to be my own person, to know that everybody's different and to know that it's okay being different and in a respectful way, like, fuck you if you ain't rocking with me. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's all right. Like, not everybody gonna rock with you. I think everybody needs that side too. I think to make it in life, you have to have a little fuck you in you.
Yep.
So, that's what he teaches me.
Yeah, you got to figure out what to cut out.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of life. I think everyone's trying to make space for everything and just doesn't work that way.
And then Steiny. Steiny is the other person that I think he teaches me a lot. He's like TA when it comes to like, Steiny's my agent, my right hand. He does everything for me. Steiny like is the definition of like servant to me, like, and believe it or not, he's still working on his relationship with the Lord. You see what I'm saying? And he does things that I don't even think that he knows that God's doing for him.
Sure.
You know, like he naturally just wakes up and he wants, his whole life is to do for other people. Literally, like his entire life is to do for other people, and he like literally wakes up and says like, I enjoy doing that.
Wow.
You know, so I think having that perspective, and being blessed enough to even have discernment to know and realize those things around me that's happening around me, and then pick up on those things and implement them in my own way, is how I think I've been staying more than afloat. But those are my three people. Yeah.
You talked a lot about like how these guys helped you off the field. When it comes to the Elijah on the field, how are they impacting you as the player?
So for TA, I'm learning my body. So I'm getting to find confidence in what I can do and how many times I can do it over and over and over again. Right?
Wow.
So I'm be consistent in it and believe in myself to have the ultimate confidence to like have the Mamba mentality to fuck everybody up. Right? And then for Scope, it's to make sure that even in those moments where I may not have shown my craft or may not have the opportunity, to remember who the fuck I am. Right? To never forget that this shit works out every day, and I believe in myself. I've been grinding since I was little, so they ain't never gonna get out of me. I got God in me, so I'm never gonna lose. So to be reminded of that. And then Steiny, I feel like how he pours into me that implements on the field, it's to never take it for granted. He's always telling me that, right? That, you know, football stands for not for long. So don't never forget who you impacted. Don't never forget who's in the stands that's never been into a game before. You see what I'm saying? To remember that you got to put on a show.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow. Before I move the story a little bit forward towards the NFL and the draft and all that part of your life, I see a lot of you and your boys working with like the younger generation and like training, and there's such a wide range of age when you guys are working on the field and all this stuff. What is it about working with the younger guys coming up and pouring into that part? Because you could easily just laser focus yourself into building just you and not pouring into younger kids and the guys that are coming up behind you. Why is that important for you?
I think the three spots where I drew to know that that's important is from Sly, all the kids, from TA, training the kids and me and all these different type of people, and then AB from always working with Antonio Brown, with always working out with kids. I think those three things tied into me in my head of why it's important to be around the youth and just to work out with other people and to witness other things, because as you get older, experiences are happening to everybody. So people's minds are getting locked or unlocked, right? So I feel like it allows you to see different things and still learn. You always got to stay a kid, as the Bible says, right? You have to still be a child. You have to learn. You never stop learning, right? So I think that if you have the perspective that you can learn anything from anyone at all times, if you just really lock in and pay attention, then you can take bits and pieces from everything around you, right? And obviously focus on the positive. So from kids, they're so free. So they do whatever, their body goes whatever. They naturally make cuts and do natural things that when you were a kid that people looked at you like, how did you do that? You know, and when you get older, you become more robotish.
Yeah.
You know, you become more like fundamental.
Just more curated and structured, yeah.
So sometimes obviously that is good because it looks clean. You could tell you've been refined. It's like a diamond. And then when you're young, if you're wild, there's still a uniqueness to it because now it's acrobatic, right? So I think that it just helps. It helps perspective. It helps people with creativity. How you say it? Creativity.
Yeah,
It helps people with creativity, and I think it helps us keep us young too. You know, the jits out here, man, they special, man. They be dancing, they be doing different type of things.
Yeah,
I think it just keeps things, you know, like sparked up.
Yeah. So this past summer, I was living in Europe and I met this young man, and he's 14 years old. His name was Yannick, and he doesn't play football, but he played a sport called handball. You familiar with handball? Mm-hmm. So I met this guy, and immediately something about him struck me. He's a 14-year-old kid that is looking at the game like this is what he wants to do. Like this is his destined purpose. And while other kids I don't even know what kids are thinking about at 14, this guy wants to be a leader. He wants to be on his team. He's trying to get the most out of his teammates. He's trying to rise above the occasion and find greatness at such a young age. But he's kind of like not finding clarity in it because he's so young. There's not a lot of people around him that are trying to think and do the same way. And I feel like you and your boys, you guys are constantly building these types of guys and young athletes up, I feel like you might have something to say to like these young athletes, guy or girl, that want to find greatness and be a leader at that age. Do you have something to say about that and to these types of athletes?
Yeah, I would just say to keep going. You know, there's many people that might try to, you know, give you many like not positive, you know, negative examples of why this is just this type of game, or, you know, just to keep going, to keep believing in yourself, because if that's on his heart and he's waking up with that every single day, you got to keep pursuing that, because that's probably not just you. You see what I'm saying? That's definitely God putting that on your heart, right? So if he has a passion for it, he has a drive for it, it's just like your walk with Christ. You see what I'm saying? As soon as you go outside, it's going to be many different type of distractions. That's why you have to build yourself up before you go outside to make sure that you're ready for whatever life throws at you. You see what I'm saying? So you have to believe in yourself. You have to focus on yourself. That's the true, like, I would say, like, embodiment mindset of like letting God handle it.
Yeah.
You know, you let God handle it. And what that action looks like is you continue to do what that little voice inside tells you to keep doing, and don't listen to nobody else.
Yeah. Do you feel like there are common pitfalls or distractions for a young athlete at that age when they're trying to find greatness, but there's things that are pulling them in a different direction?
100%.
What do you think some of those pitfalls are?
Man, it could be parents, it could be friends, it can be a lot of different things. You see what I'm saying? Definitely who you surround yourself with. You see what I'm saying? So I think you have to be very cognitive of who you spend your time with and who you're telling your dreams to. You see what I'm saying? You have to be careful with all that type of stuff,
That
you know?
one.
So
Who you tell your dreams to.
exactly, because people will shoot it down, you know, and it just takes someone that you believe in, you know. That's like, for example, I remember in one of J. Cole's one of my favorite rappers. In one of his songs, he said the worst thing that he did was told his like his idol, basically like his favorite person, like what he wanted to do in life, right? Because then he said that he hold that person to be so valuable that if they told him something that he didn't like, he would almost believe them because they meant so much to him. You see what I'm saying? So it's this finding yourself through sports, through whatever it is that you love, your passion, that I think is what God is using to refine your character. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's why I love organized sports in any sport that it is, because it teaches you life. It doesn't just teach you the sport. You're going to realize throughout the end of your time in whatever you're chasing, that if you win those moments, those low moments, that you're a better person because of it.
Yeah.
So I think that it is important that, and some advice for him would to be just to keep going. You see what I'm saying? Watch who you spend your time with, believe in yourself, and pour in yourself, and just stay connected to God, because God's the only opinion that matters.
I love that. So you've painted this picture up until Ole Miss and a little bit in there. You had a pretty prolific career in your college years. Would you how would you briefly describe your time at Ole Miss and the type of football you played?
My time at Ole Miss was great. Like, Ole Miss was...
You're breaking some records,
It's
no?
my story, yeah. But even just like off the field, like the people that I met out there, like, it was nothing like I thought it was going to be. You know, like everyone kind of like, you going to Mississippi, like you gotta be careful type of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, but they were so like their hospitality, you know what I'm saying, and just the Ole Miss campus itself, taught me so much. Like, it made me even like, I'm from Florida. People don't walk. There's so much people down here. If you walk past someone, we're not going to say nothing to you. Like, you walk past somebody over there, they're going to say hello, how are you? May even start a full conversation. You know, so I think it just like kind of got me out my box. You know, I think going to see the world and just, you know, moving around and seeing different types of people helps you. You know, so
Definitely.
But my time at Ole Miss was a huge reason to where I'm at right now. You know, I think that Ole Miss on the field was, you know, I'm so competitive. I always feel like I could have did better. I look back at it now and I'm like, yo, I could have had so much more. In
That's
the game to
everybody at the
give.
highest level of whatever they do. They always feel like there's always improvement looking back and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's normal. That's what keeps us hungry and
It
driven,
does.
I think.
I just, you know, I did what I was supposed to do. You know, it happened the way it was supposed to.
Yeah. And when you take yourself back to like the final chapters of Ole Miss and you're starting to think forward into the next chapter. What's going on before draft and that little section of your life where you're deciding what the next portion of your life will look like? Talk like the end of Ole Miss and pre-NFL. What's going on there?
Refinement. It's like, okay, like this is the next chapter, and this is where you wanted to go, and you have the opportunity. God presented a way, right? He made your dream come true. So first and foremost, it's like a big period of like grace. It's a big period of like gratitude towards God, knowing that this is, even an opportunity for me on my plate, right? So just like I said yesterday, first and foremost, I have to give thanks to the Most High, because I literally know that there's so much people, if not more, that love football more than I do. You see what I'm saying? And I love football. I think that no one could love it more than me. You see what I'm saying? But there's someone that actually does. And they'll never make it. So I think just having the opportunity, the way things move smoothly, and I shouldn't say smoothly, but just the way things moved for me to get to where I wanted to go, it's just, it don't work like that for everybody. So you just have to give thanks. So I think it was more like a give thanks period for me, and then after that it was like a shift to where like how I can just kill as soon as I get there.
Yeah. So the moment you're sitting on a sofa, you're surrounded by all the people that love you, that have contributed to your journey. It's draft night, and names are being called, numbers are being called. What's going through your head? I don't feel like almost nobody on the planet that goes through human experience will experience what you go through waiting to be drafted. What's going on?
It's not a fun day.
No?
No.
What's going on
in
there?
It's not a fun day, because really, if you don't go like top 5, you really like don't know where you're gonna go. You see what I'm saying? So it's just not a fun day. Like it's probably the most nerve-wracking day that I've had. So, and I didn't get picked the first day, so it was actually like a very bad day for me. But looking back at it, it's like bittersweet. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it helped me.
Yeah.
Because it just added to the fuel just to keep going harder and harder.
Yeah.
But then again, it like sucked because that feeling sucks, right? Going through hard stuff sucks, right? But it made me a better person.
I'm sure you believe that it was part of a greater plan, how it played
100%.
out, because it sounds like you came into the league with a chip.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I was going to have a chip regardless.
Yeah.
But I definitely came into the league with a chip because of it. It's like, thought I was going first round, didn't go first round.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? I thought I was, going at this pick to this team, didn't go at this pick to this team. So it's just, it's humbling,
Yeah.
And then you kind of look at it as like, well, I didn't go first round. I went second round. I was supposed to go second round. So let's just make the most of it now.
Wow. And what does it actually look like after you get drafted, in terms of one night they say that you're getting drafted to New York Jets? Are you just like on a plane the next morning? Like how soon are you just jumping into that world?
So it's different for everybody. If you're first round, you usually, what is it? First round or top 10 picks, you usually go like the next day, right? But when you're second round, you like wait until the date that they want you. So for me, like the date was like, I think like 4 or 5 days later.
Okay.
So 4 or 5 days later, they put me on a flight to go to New York. Yeah.
Wow.
That's how that went. Yeah.
And then,
But it's not like first round. You went first round, you get to go to PJ.
Yeah.
You get to, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's just different type of status type stuff. You know what I'm saying?
relatively, whether it's 4 days or 1 day, that's fast. You're moving into a whole nother universe
100%.
immediately.
100%.
That's not even being compared to maybe even high school and college. You're just, your life is drastically changed in one moment from one in the same week. That's gotta be crazy.
What I think people forget though is that it's a business, right? I think we forget that like somebody literally just like in a weird way bought us.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Somebody literally just bought us, and they need their investment, and they need to come check out their investment.
They need a return
And,
immediately.
Yeah, they need to come check out their investment and look at their investment in person. You
Wow.
see what I'm saying?
I never thought about it like that.
That's exactly what it is. You see what I'm saying? So from a business standpoint, if I had a business, you see what I'm saying, I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
But from like being the person it's happening to, it's not always like the best feeling.
Yeah, you probably want some time to ease or to transition. And
Yeah, but you got to get to it. And I think a lot of us are so eager to play anyway because we just got done playing that we're just ready to play.
how would you describe the first chapter in the NFL? Like what came along with that whole journey, the triumphs and the trials?
Yeah, it was ups and downs. You see what I'm saying? And it was a lot of ups, it was a lot of downs. Like it's just how you look at it. It's perspective. So I could sit here and tell you that like because we were losing and because you see what I'm saying, like, we were trying to find out like, the rhythm of our team and stuff like that. Like was it, you know, all negative? No, it really wasn't. Like I learned so much. Like I feel like I became a better person. I feel like I just, it was my first year in the NFL. I didn't really have an expectation
Yeah.
on what it was going to be like because I didn't know how it was going to go. I just knew that I was going to give it my best.
Yeah.
So I had a little stretch towards the end where like I made some plays. I made a couple plays, but nothing to where like I really wanted to do. And then I ended up getting hurt. I had like like a hernia in my leg.
Oh, wow.
So I missed like the last 5 games when I like just started ramping up. And between me and you, I feel like it was a spiritual thing. I feel like I had to get right.
Yep.
And that's really why like I got hurt. So that's like was the outlook of the first really the first season.
Yeah.
For me, yeah.
And then how long were you there until the next chapter began and Cleveland came into the
So I
story?
stayed there another year and we were kind of dicing around trying to find quarterback situation. If anybody knows, when you play receiver, that there's one football, right? So that football got to go around, So I think it was just kind of a humbling experience for me, and even more of a learning thing for me now that I look back at it now. That you can't. Oh, it's not like college. It's not just you out on the field. So and then just finding the rhythm with a steady quarterback. I think was it too, and then just like. Being in an organization, it doesn't always like things don't always like click. People always don't work good together.
Yeah.
And when all that type of money is being distributed,
It becomes more complicated.
but you have to make it work.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because it's entertainment, and people don't care about who doesn't like who. You have to go put on a show.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So I think that finding pieces that stick and work together and play together is something that we're still trying to figure out until today in sports.
So, okay, you're just touching on it now. So within the context of your NFL career, do you still feel like you're trying to find your place in this world and the type of impact you want to make on the sport? Would that be accurate in describing where you're at today with the sport?
So as far as from a football,
football,
point,
yes.
yeah. I mean, it's always growing. I think that it's going to be different. I'm going to have to be a person that wears many different hats.
Yeah.
Like there's different impacts that I want to do because football, is not just to impact like football related things. Football, when you have a platform, you can impact even football related. Like you can impact people in other ways that not just with sports. Like I think people sometimes just love meeting an NFL player, not even caring who you are, just because of the discipline and the things that we have to go through that not your everyday human goes through.
Yeah.
So I have to wear many hats, and I honestly can't wait to wear, some other hats, but I'm focused on the hat right now.
Yeah. What aside from like the football side of your life, from what I observed, I would actually try to summarize as there's 4 very big F's in your life: family, faith, football, and fashion. It's very clear that you love fashion as well.
One of them is like going down, like you can exit it out. You can kind of throw the fashion thing out of
Yeah?
it. Yeah. It's not really, the closer I get to God, the closer I see that doesn't matter.
What is the relationship there between the faith and the fashion? What do you mean by that?
So you can't be a person that like, and don't mix my words. I love looking good,
Sure.
right? And I'm gonna forever get fresh. You see what I'm saying? But my time and my intention behind how much I care about those things is not gonna be something that I'm gonna be pursuing as much as I thought I was before, right? Like the person I thought that I was gonna be 2-3 years ago is not the person I'm trying to be now.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? So, and that's solely because of God. So that's why I was saying that I couldn't even really answer your 3 pillars in the beginning because my life can't be summed up in 3 because of God. Like I literally don't do things that my body wants to do because God tells me that I'm not supposed to. You see what I'm saying? And I surrender myself to him. So whatever he says goes.
I feel like you have an incredible ability to listen to what's going on in your life. People speak into your life, and it sounds like you've had like a lot of clarity in different parts of your life about where to turn. and when to go straight and when to pause and stuff like that. Where does that come from? I feel like,
I think you just named part of the definition of discernment.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's just discernment. And that's something that I can't even explain. I think that that's the definition of like trusting that voice that's in you, because God's in every last one of us, you know? So I think that's just what I do. I think it saves my life. You see what I'm saying? I think that because of those examples, I'll never not listen to that.
Yeah.
And that's what it is, because it happens too fluent. Because if it was really up to me, I'd make bad decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually love when I hear people's stories. Like, there's always a time when an opportunity arises and it's not going to make any sense, almost no sense to choose this thing. The timing is wrong, doesn't make the finances go well, whatever it is. But there's still like a compass inside that says like, you need to go do this, you need to go there, or spend time with this person, or pursue that thing. Can you think of a time when nothing made sense about this decision, but you still chose to go forward and trust that voice, or have faith in the decision you're about to make? Maybe Ole Miss? Did Ole Miss make perfect sense when you were thinking about it?
Ole Miss was a big one too. Ole Miss was one to this day that like I don't even know why I picked that school too. It honestly, people ask me to this day like why did you go there? Like, you from Florida, you see what I'm saying? But honestly, the way I looked at it was this. Like, I tell people this all the time, and this is like obviously not true. Like, I was very wrong, but like I didn't think AJ and DK was like that raw. Like, they were the stars at that school at that time. I didn't think they were like better than me. You see what I'm saying? Like, I thought I could learn from them, obviously, because they're there doing it. But I didn't think that like I was gonna sit, if they were the same age, that I was gonna sit behind them for 3 years. I just didn't think that.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, like, they're not like me. I can do stuff that they can't, and they can do stuff that I can't. So some way at some time, I'm gonna be needed.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I looked at it. But then when I got there, I was very wrong, because they were very good. You see what I'm saying? So, and they worked extremely hard. And a true testament to how I even am the way I am today is because of them. You know, them boys taught me how to drive far, wash clothes, to be quiet, to be myself, to go do things on my own, like low key be a man.
Yeah.
Definitely played like a huge section in that.
Yeah.
In that part of my life too.
How did they teach you to be alone? Because today you seem like someone that's very comfortable being in your own space and solitude and stuff. But are you telling me there's a point where you weren't like that?
100%. I hated being by myself growing up. Anybody in my family who when I got home from my maybe like second year in college, my family thought I was an entirely different human. Like, until this day, like, they may not like speak on it fully, because, you know, they don't want to like make it seem like it's not okay. But like, nothing that I've done before, I did now. So like, think about that working in like the negative side, right? Of doing things where I wasn't supposed to do. You could have a kid that's so lost now. But for them, they were seeing that like those areas were discipline, those areas where, you see what I'm saying, he's doing things on his own. He's not asking me for nothing. He's focused on the Lord more. Like, him doing all this stuff to where it plays into why I'm telling you that it's not me orchestrating my life. I don't even know how I'm here. If it wasn't for God, something would be wrong with me. I'm trying to tell you. I'm being honest with you. Like, I'd be schizophrenic or something for how much stuff I think about. You know, so I think they were just proud of that part, you know, of how like a kid can go off, you see what I'm saying, and be anyone he wants to be. He's gonna do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah. And
a lot of kids' decision making, when they get to do what they want to do, is experimenting the stuff that they shouldn't. And even though I've had some of those experiences, I never overindulged. You know, so I think that was just a blessing.
I can see that like you have this quiet fire inside of you in your person.
I feel like that's a great way to explain
it. Because I think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, in your position, it would be easy to be very loud about life. Yeah. And to, you know, be and glamorize every part of this process. But when I sit with you and spend time with you, and the little that I've gotten to know you, you're composed, you're quiet, but that's not mistaken for like complacent. You are pushing yourself so hard, but it's a quiet fire. Was it always like this? Because when you described your childhood, you described like a petty bad sportsmanship, and you didn't know how to win. And
talked a lot, got yelled at in school all the time for talking too much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, kicked out of class detention, all that stuff, because I'm always asking why. I wanted to know why. Yeah. Give me the answer. You see what I'm saying? Like, why can't I talk to him? I'm finished with my work. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? He's finished with his work too. We're not doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
You were talking about recess, so who's faster or something? Like, what's the problem?
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? So I think that I was just entirely different, but that's what God does, though.
Mm.
You know, God tells you that you have to use these more than this, right?
Mhm.
You have to be quiet because you have to notice what's going on around you.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? So you have to be aware of your surroundings and you have to know what's happening around you because that eventually happens to you.
Yeah.
So, and then being humble, you have to be humble. God calls us to be humble. So whatever it is that God needs me to be, everything else that I want to be gets thrown out the window.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to actually touch on that because one of the strongest themes out of everything you're talking about that I'm listening to is you're very adaptable, whether it's the team, the city, the state, the types of people in your life, your mindset, your values, your priorities, your morals. You've been very adaptable in a very, like, the first quarter of your life. Let's say it that way.
Facts.
Why do you? I just like when I remember when I was going through my early and mid 20s, I was not adaptable. I was the opposite of adaptable. And when I was playing sports growing up, I was the least coachable human on the face of the planet. Where did you learn this adaptability? Is it from someone in your family, or like did you pick it up along with a mentor or a teammate? Like, you're so adaptable to every environment that you've been thrown into.
I feel like a lot of what happens to us and what we realize as we get older is all stems from childhood, right? So most things in life stem from childhood. That's when you get indoctrinated with everything, good or bad,
Yeah.
right? So I think that if you were to reevaluate your life and assess your life as a grown-up, you can realize that if you think back from like you can almost remember when that happened and why that happened the way you are,
Yeah.
right? So for me, it was childhood. Like, I got to give thanks, obviously, to sports. Organized sports teach you discipline. Organized sports teach you how to adapt. Because of sports, I got to meet so many different type of people. I had to listen to so many different type of coaches every single year. I had to literally be around all different types of ethnicities and being from Florida, all different types of people. You see what I'm saying? It allows you to, if you don't adapt, you're not gonna do good. You're not gonna be successful.
Yeah.
You're right. So, and then another thing I would say that like is kind of more like on a spiritual sense is the devil's always trying to change the world. You see what I'm saying? So people always feel like they have something to do, so they're distracted. Because then when you're distracted, you have no time to stay locked in on the Lord.
Yeah.
So when you're distracted and everything's always changing around you, which the world is doing every single second, right? We have a new phone out, iPhone 16, which you shouldn't get it, right? Oh, well, you should do what you want, right? But it's like literally like they're promoting the AI intelligence even more to answer stuff for us that you don't have to do less and less and less.
Yeah. Less creative thinking.
You see what I'm saying? So as people may think that that's going to help them, I really think that's going to hinder even more.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like stuff, it's basically leading back to that. You have to be able to be still and know God, right? You have to be able to be still and know your surroundings. You have to be able to be still and know what to do. And you won't do that if you're moving so fast.
Man, I have to be honest. I feel like our worlds are so different, but after hearing you like talk about your story, there's so many overlapping themes and traits between you and me that I wasn't thinking that they were going to be connected. But like learning how to adapt, coming to understanding like the voice that guides us, and building the core people around us and stuff, that all very important things that like no one teaches you about life. And
Exactly.
I just feel like the way you approach your craft is truly like an artist. I've spoken to artists at the highest level, and the way that you have to shape your mind to continuously stay playful but have an output that is at the highest level. It's not easy, but you do that. The way you look at it, the way you speak, the way you treat the process is truly like an artist that actually.
And think about it. Me and you and how we look at things, we're created by God. So think about how, think about the blessing, like that God blesses with to even do these things.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like the fact that you're noticing some of this stuff, and I notice those same things in you and many people around me that don't have 4 million, 100 million followers. You see what I'm saying? Like all that stuff doesn't matter. Like what really matters is like what are you getting better inside of you that God has gave you? What are you giving to everyone else to serve that He has blessed you with?
Wow. Really well put. So let's take it to present day here. We're sitting here now in Florida, Miami. Do you want to talk a little bit about what's happened this weekend in this chapter of your life?
Yeah. So this chapter of my life is called Love. So for a long time, I've been battling. I've been battling. I've been trying to, because when you walk with God, you're gonna realize that like you have to unlearn and undo a lot of stuff that you once did that is not acceptable once you fear God, once you fear the Lord. So it's that process. So getting closer to God in my journey has only equipped me to be a better man to attract a woman like what I've now received, right? So before I was doing foul things, you see what I'm saying? Before I was being super lustful and just doing things that I shouldn't do, but that every man does, right? And I let that excuse be my life, right? So I knew that I always had it in me to like know that like I wanted to be better. And that yanking and pulling was always on me, that like I have to not be the person that only talks about it, and just add to the bad examples for every other girl or man in life on why their dad isn't like this or why their brother is like this. I have to be the brother, the dad, the uncle, the friend that is actually doing what I'm saying. So for me, I was living foul, I was lonely. You see what I'm saying? I was doing things I shouldn't be doing. And just because I'm saying I was, it doesn't still mean like I'm still not,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
Nobody's perfect, right? I'm still refining myself
Sure.
consistently. And I shouldn't even say refining myself. God is still refining me, right? So because if it was, like I said, if it was up to me, I couldn't get it done. So this is all a God thing. But the love aspect of it is I was attracting the wrong type of people, right? And I was putting myself in places that wasn't gonna get the right type of people,
Yeah.
right? And funny enough, it was only irritating me in those spaces either way.
Mm.
So I knew sooner or later that I had to do something to get out, or else I'm gonna have all these bad habits for when it was time,
Yeah.
right? So everyone's always saying like, people when they get older, they're always close with God, right? I think from when you're young, you should try to be close with God, because then you won't have so much undoing to do and so much even more to say sorry about, right? So I looked at the same thing with like me being, a husband, or me being the dad I need to be,
Yeah.
right? Like I don't want my kid to look at me and be like, because I want kids one day, and I was thinking in retrospect, right? So I don't want my kid to look at me one day and be like, my dad is not I'm like he's gonna be lost or she's gonna be lost,
Yeah.
because I was her example of what not to do.
Yeah.
So it was just only more pressure to get right. So leading into finding a good woman, I think for me it was a lot of refining, and it still is. Trust me, it's taking really, really hard work. But having an accountability partner, someone that is placed by God around you to get that done, I think that makes it the only way to go.
And how did that all start or begin, or how did that first look when it was coming into your life, making space for someone to come into your life and welcoming that?
It's obviously still something. It's still early, so it's still something that me and her both are adapting to. But it's great, because you're not living for you. Your life isn't yours. It's for other people. So when you move like that and you're learning everything that God thinks is important, and you're holding it to be just as important to you, and trying your very best to hold that statement to be your life, then anything that you once thought matters, it kind of don't. You see what I'm saying? Like it actually it doesn't matter, because all that matters is what God's will is for you. And if he calls you to be a servant and to touch other people's life, and the only way for you to get there is through placing these people around you that focus on this, right? It's like what I said to Steiny outside. I said, if you get around 5 millionaires, you'll be the 6th. You see what I'm saying? So it's just like that. Like I was around women that weren't really that were only taking from me, that wasn't filling my cup up, that was using me. And, rightfully so. I was playing into it too, so, and I was using them as well.
So what does it look or feel like when you are in a healthy relationship from your experience? Like, what does it sound like?
It doesn't even sound like nothing. It looks and feels like something, right?
Yeah.
So it would just be, I would say, like the fruits of the spirit, right? So like my girl's always talking. She actually the one who taught me what that is, right? So a big one that we always talk about is like joy. When someone's joyous, right? When someone's really happy.
Like enlightened.
Yeah, because it's not about what they have, right? Because there's a lot of people that have a lot of things. God doesn't judge things. Like the saying obviously is this, and everyone has heard it, right? But it's actually in the Bible. Like you judge a tree by its fruit, right? So Bad trees give off bad fruits.
Yeah.
Good trees give off good fruits.
I love that.
And when you look at a tree, right, and a tree grows, the fruits aren't even for the tree. The fruits are for people who walk by.
Wow, that's brilliant.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So your life, that's what I meant when I said that your life isn't even for you. You see what I'm saying? Your experiences are to help other people. You
Wow.
know? But to speak on like the fruits, my life is is changing towards a better trajectory. You know, I tell my girl all the time I'm gonna make it to heaven because of her. You know?
That's a crazy thing to be able to say to someone.
And it's a beautiful thing to say, you know, because you really know that she's getting me right, right? And it's holding me accountable to only be more of the side of me that I need to be.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm just looking, you just can tell who's doing good by you look at their fruits. How are they with their family? How are they inside? What are they doing in their spare time? You know, we're not with everybody when they close the door, so we don't really know. You can go outside and you can see everything they got on, what they drive, who their girlfriend is. You see what I'm saying? You can see all that type of stuff and you'll think like, dang, they living great, right? But they really could be crying on the inside when they get home.
Yeah.
Screaming at the pillow. You don't even know it. Have holes in the walls and you don't even know it. They could have somebody locked up in their basement. You don't know.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So you have to be, this is where discernment comes in. You have to be on it. You have to listen to that little voice. You see what I'm saying? That really knows that you don't draw from that. You draw from God, and God gives you a different type of strength. You wake up every single day and you healthy. You wake up every single day and you got your family. You wake up every single day and you could work, you could walk. You see what I'm saying? You could do the things that people don't think matter. You wake up every day and you could see. It's somebody that can't see.
Yeah.
Somebody woke up who could see yesterday, but they can't see today. You have to be grateful for those things. So I think being mindful and just understanding what God has blessed us with has allowed me to attract someone like my fiance.
Hey guys, just a quick pause here because our Uber Eats came and we had to figure that out. But I wanted to take 1 second to thank you for listening if you made it this far. And if you have any feedback for me to improve these episodes, I would love to hear from you. And I think where we jump back into the conversation, Elijah and I were talking about just how important it is to have these types of conversations. And he had some really nice words to say. So let's dive right back into the episode.
Bro, my bad, bro. I'm doing an interview right now. Because our food's here. It's been here. We got to eat too.
Yeah, I'm starving. Sorry, man.
And we can keep going off camera too, like once we're done.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
I'd love
for sure.
just to keep talking to you because I'm going to be honest, bro. Like, sharing information like this helps people, like, including me hearing yours. You see what I'm saying? Like, you're going to give me a whole different perspective that I've never had too. You know, so I think it's important that we share because, bro, how we go about life, right? We all going to die, bro. How we go about life, you see what I'm saying? And what gems you heard from somebody else, that be like the change that you needed. Like, you could leave here and change your whole life. I could leave from what you said and it could help me on the field.
That's why I love this because, you know, what I've learned from the 9 years living on the road is that not everybody gets to travel. Not everybody gets to do all these things. And so what I like to do is to bring the travel to people.
That's real.
And really just.
And that's another thing I want to give you your, flowers for too, bro. Like, just to get up and to see how you do it. Like, it shows that you're another one of those people, how I spoke on them. Like, you're like that. And I don't even know everything about you. And I could tell that you're like that.
Thank you.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm being so serious, bro. It's not people like you. It's not, bro. Out there, bro. It's not.
I think there's just some people that really, it's not even a decision because going all in on something is not something you can be taught, right? You just either have it or don't. It's just when you feel called to something, nothing else makes sense but to go all in on something.
Exactly. But it all does stem from childhood, though.
Sure. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? A lot of people aren't those type of people that just trust themselves and make those decisions because of whatever experiences that they had in their household when they was young. See how important those little years when you're young are?
Man, it's...
Yo, that's so important.
Everything always goes back to
and you can't be entirely perfect as a parent or like you were saying, but you can like monitor for sure, like what gets seen, heard, and expressed. Like, you got to be careful because kids will run with that.
I love this, man. And thank you for saying that. That really means a lot. I just want to try to find a way to recap this. And what I really want to understand is what legacy means to you. So when I look at your life and what I've heard and observed is that you have a beautiful family.
I have a beautiful growing family.
Yeah. And that's right. And this you found the craft, the vehicle that's going to take you to the parts of life that you want to explore, and you met the love of your life, and it's all there. When you think of legacy and you think of the very end of your life, what mark are you trying to make on the field and off the field?
I think as far as on the field, I would like to just on the field, I just want to do what I want to do. You see what I'm saying? I think that I had a dream and a mindset that I had when I was coming into the league as far as what I wanted it to look like. And I'm learning very quickly that in team sports and in anything that you do on earth, it's not going to go exactly the way you want it. So that plays into being adaptable, right? So I think that it just comes from, it goes into a mindset of me just, whatever I'm going through, good or bad, I have to make the most of it. And I think that's like the mindset that I have to stay in. So as far as like what I want to do on the field, I want to be someone that shows, I guess the word, to persevere. You see what I'm saying? To make anything that's bad good and to make anything that's good great. You know, and just show someone that like, because people don't realize what's really going on. Like, to give you an example, right? Like, people will look at like a year when I was in high school as if like they'll never know that like that was like my worst year. You see what I'm saying? Because on the outside, it still looked like it was a great year. But to me, it was like the worst. You see what I'm saying? So that's why you have to continue just to keep going and not get too high or too low. You know, you have to stay even and not just say those things, like really embody that. And that's super hard, right? In the world we live in, because of all the emotions, and when you love someone, the passion is there. So much more extra driven things is going on, right? And I'm playing a team game, not a one-man show. You see what I'm saying? So it's just, I think I just want to continue to work on myself, to allow people to see that, you know, whether it's a good season, whether it's a bad season, that he's consistent.
Wow.
And then off the field,
Yeah.
as far as impact, it goes back to wearing the many hats. Like, football's only a pit stop of what I want to touch. You see what I'm saying? But it's just a platform that I'm going to use to get there to be heard.
Wow. Well put. I think that's it, man. We should eat.
Ready to do it.
I just want to quickly thank you for watching this episode. I don't know if you've seen other ones, but there are other ones. The first episode was with Nainoa, Hawaii-based creative genius filmmaker. Pete O'Hara, based in the Canadian Rockies. Amazing life story, photo filmmaking genius as well. Like, these guys are just so good. And then we have Elijah in this episode, who has just found greatness within his sport of football and got a very bright future ahead. And I got some other episodes lined up to show, but I just want to use Time Capsule to have conversations with people who I feel have stories that should be heard and have something to say with their voice, maybe, you know? And I've been on this road for 9 years, living nomadically without a base, and I just want to shelf these people's stories and conversations somewhere. So that's why this exists. And I just want to thank you for hanging out, and I'll see you in the next episode.